It's Monday evening, and you know what that means. It's time for the Cook Landscape Group Cup Series here on Turn 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Fitz alongside Kevin England. And Kevin, we're going super speedway racing tonight. The drivers of the Cook Landscape Group are getting rolling here off the grid. It's going to be an exciting one here under the lights at Daytona.
Yeah, super speedway racing, and we're getting down 2 or 3 races left till the cut for 22 advance after the Auto Club Speedway race on 9:15. And what's at stake tonight? Part of it, I think, is the physical tie for the regular championship between Fuller and Schildhouse as we enter into this wild card race. 3 races to go. It's going to be an exciting night for those two trying to win the championship.
It is. It certainly is. Now, with that said, those drivers didn't have the best qualifying efforts here tonight at Daytona, but none of that is going to matter once it's all said and done. Justin Fuller is going to start 33rd. And taking a look here, my running order, where is Mr. Schildhouse? He's going to start 15th here tonight.
13th.
Yeah, so he's going to be back there a good bit. This will be interesting to see how this all plays out. It's going to be a great night of super speedway racing under the lights. Nelson Rivera, Anthony Calatoni make up the front row. Wesley Donaldson had a rough night last night, looking to recover here at Daytona, and he's going to start 3rd. Glenn Campbell, Thomas George, Jason Pick, David Comstock, Tyler Dalton, Chad Coleman, and Paul Crumry, your top 10.
Tyrone Hire is making his first start of the year in the number 1. Robert Fryery the 3rd. David Schildhouse, DeAndre Kane make up row 7. Jeff Hollingsworth, Kevin DeBrown. Andrew Lutz Jr., another newcomer on the night, starts 17th. 18th on his outside, Jose Gonzalez. Jason Karlovage and Joe Hudson make out row number 10 as the remainder of the field, Woods, Charles and Doy in 21st, 22nd. Macklin, Glazer, Harris, last week's winner, Wetzel, Troy Haight, Joey Jatina. Andrew Lutz starts 29th, 30th for Sean Breitzman. And we continue to go down as we get ready to go green for all the action here at Daytona International Speedway. Roth, Jorgensen Jr. starting way back, Fuller, Miles, Mojica, Eric Arnold, Logan Coger, Josh Parker, Stoney Bentfield. And then in the back, it's Kevin Stone, Ron Hollifield, Randy Yoakum, and Gerald Livingston. That's a full pack of cars here as we are underway here at Daytona International.
Calatoni out front on that outside line. Got the shove there early. That's the 44 attached to the bumper. Glenn Campbell, he's already on the move, looking for a partner to tango with. Oh, he gets a little tight. Nearly runs up to the top of the corner, but you're going to see a lot of this style racing here. The side-by-side, very close to one another racing all night tonight. We were talking about the points battle and how critical that was going to be. Everything can be thrown out the window in a flash. The super speedway racing can really drive a dynamic of tight racing and even bigger accidents. So those point leaders and those drivers looking to clinch the regular season points need to be careful as Nelson Rivera leads down the backstretch. We got a car hitting to the inside. He's going to go behind, under that yellow line as Donaldson is going to squeeze out ahead on the outside.
2x2 still looks like pace lap formation here as the lights have come on at Daytona. We're at twilight and the sparks are dragging as the car's under low tire pressure, and right now it continues to be the 22 of Nelson Rivera leading the way. He crosses the line to finish the lap, and nobody's able to make a move, but I think they're content right now to ride Sean, get their car kind of sorted out, get some spacing figured out in front of them. And they scream off of turn 2 to the back straightaway. Everybody kind of minding their P's and Q's. It's early here at Daytona.
It absolutely is. A whole 80 laps of racing action here tonight. They're going to have to make at least 2 pit stops on the evening as Donaldson continues to lead down that backstretch. He's got a new buddy in the 84. That's the Anthony Calatoni machine. A bunch of his fans, I'm sure, watching this evening on that outside line. And Calatoni pushing Donaldson out there. And, Kevin, I hope they are taking their time. It's a long way to go here. You're going to have to work through some pit cycles. You're going to have to find some friends throughout the evening because in the early part of this, you got to find somebody that can partner with you. That's not going to put you in a bad situation, and more importantly, not going to wreck you with that tight bumper draft you see down the straightaways here.
Yeah, I'm going to say something that I think is counter to what we're typically used to at this type of racetrack. Track position matters. It's very difficult to pass here. You really have to get up into the non-existent third line. And I feel like if you go up there, you're going to have to make sure that you have a lot of friends with you as you hunt that high side. But other than that, you're stacked in behind the car in front of you. And unless you're leading the line, it's very difficult to pass. I think some of these drivers know that, and they're going to want to start to make some moves early. We'll see a lot of side drafting. We'll see a lot of checking up at the end of the backstretch because the cars get such a draft. And somewhere along the line, Sean, you made a hint of this. There's some strategy going on from fuel mileage and who you're going to pit with, making sure you get a good pit stop. All of that comes into play here when you're in the super speedway game.
It does, and you saw a part of that playing the game, finding a buddy. That was Wesley Donaldson on that outside line. Anthony Calatoni was free and clear of Nelson Rivera on the bottom, but you saw Donaldson keep with Calatoni right to that bumper. That is almost likely a mutual agreement that they were going to work with one another here tonight, and all the way up to the very last lap. You're going to want to find a buddy or somebody to tango here tonight at Daytona is going to be the phrase as these drivers work lap number 6. Again, Rivera and Donaldson right there side by side, and that's really reflected throughout the majority of the field still here, 2 by 2. Starting to see a little bit of 3 wide action back here. I believe, who's that? That's in the 9 car there. That's Bobby Wetzel making it a little sporty there. That's a 3 wide battle. He's going to actually take that top line away. This is likely not what our championship contenders wanted to see. Justin Fuller is back there as well. Pedro Mojica, he's a constant race winner. Cody Harris has had a good run here. Won the last, I believe, 3 out of 4. He's just riding along, seeing this 3 wide action back into the pack, and probably clinched up pretty hard if I were to hazard a guess.
You see one up against the wall. That's the 30 of Brian Macklin scraping. He's the one going to the high side. He's got the 5 behind him tucked in. Now a couple more are going to join in as they try to make that move to the high side. As I said before, if you want to make a pass, you really have to go high. And you know what? It looks like it's an easy ride, but I'm telling you, these cars move around so much in the draft. They're left, they're right. They come cruising up quickly on the back bumper of the car in front of you. You can't really see anything out of the front windshield when you're tucked up underneath the spoiler. So these drivers really are completely in focus mode on every lap, every corner, every straightaway. It's difficult to race here at Daytona.
It is, and a driver not finding it too difficult is Thomas George. He's worked his way up front, getting around Wesley Donaldson. Almost that outside line looked like it had to check up a minute there as George may have gotten a little snug, and you saw that ripple effect. He's going to break out a little bit. Donaldson and Calatoni had to check up a smidge and lose the momentum. And it is very hard to race here. This track looks very wide, and it is. And for a lot of folks, you can make it 3 wide long term here. But it is not Talladega where you will see 3 wide very often. And Kevin, to that point, that outside line is most likely going to be a factor for the race win here this evening. But more importantly, you got to be there at the end to bring home the checkered flag. And there's 2 lines of thinking when it comes to super speedway racing. You're either riding in the front or you're riding all the way in the back. Kevin, I got to ask, what type of driver are you at these super speedway races? Front or back?
Lately, I've been trying to run up front. I think you need to be up front in order to be out in front of whatever the mess is going to be. Plus, as I said before, it's really difficult anymore to drive through the pack like it used to be. Now, every once in a while, you can hook up like Tyler Dalton did, go to the high side, see a stack coming, and they're going to push you forward. And for some reason, things check up on the bottom, and you're able to drive through. But I don't know. I think you serve better to run up front, especially when pit stops. If you make a little bit of a mistake, you can compensate for that. And we're starting to see that charge, and really the guy that's pushing it is the 30 of Brian Macklin, who has won multiple times here at Daytona International.
He's up 11 spots on the night. He's also got Mark Jorgensen Jr. He's up 19 spots, and it's getting pretty dicey here early. Kevin, I'm really surprised to see so much 3 wide action here, and even more shocked to see Justin Fuller in it. And that's a big wreck there on the entrance of turn 3. Tyler Dalton involved there. It looks like a couple others. That's going to be a big one here early.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge parking lot with all those cars coming to a stop. The good news is they're all going about the same speed, so when they grind and crash and bump and bang, as long as they don't take a hard hit to the wall, a lot of them can grab a gear and drive out of it, as we see the 17 of Kevin Stone driving away. And we had the first big one here on lap number 10, and the guy who took the biggest hit, I think, the 19 of Tyler Dalton.
Taking a look at the replay here. This all started with the 29 and the 53, and that is super speedway racing for you right there. Got into the left rear, and this track is a little different than what you see elsewhere. It's going to sweep up before it sweeps down. You're going to see it throw the cars up against the wall and often block the track, and there's many drivers involved in this. Kevin DeBrown, Jason Pick, Andrew Lutz involved. As we mentioned, Tyler Dalton. Oh no, Kevin, it looks like Josh Parker involved. That driver not having a whole lot of great luck here over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, so now it's a collective sigh from the field. These guys will reset. Those who have damage going to head to pit road. The good news for them is it's 2.5 miles, so they have enough time usually to get a lot of the damage fixed if there's a handful of cautions, as long as they didn't do anything severe. And interesting to see the 51 of Justin Fuller and the 20 of David Schildhouse running nose to tail as they hit pit road.
Yeah, I was just about to call that out. The Justin Fuller, as I mentioned his name, squeaked underneath this that big wreck as they all hit pit road here. And Kevin, I don't know what fuel mileage looks like tonight, but I can't help but wonder this is going to play into it here as these drivers came down pit road for what looks like a splash of fuel.
Interesting moment there for the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. trying to get to his box. I don't know if he downshifted in the wrong place. The car whipped around and he went backwards, nosed it into the inside pit wall, and it did his pit stop facing backwards and then pulled out and got going. I don't believe he had any damage there, but the 88 extracurricular activity there on pit road.
It also looks like the 5 of Logan Koger may have missed his box. He came came down pit road without hitting coming to the service of his pit crew, so I imagine we'll see the 5 come back down. Meanwhile, Anthony Calatoni came out P2, Wesley Donaldson, Thomas George, Glenn Campbell, your top 5. We're going to step aside for the first time here tonight under caution, lap number 12 at Daytona. You're watching Turn 1. Well, Kevin, the lights are on here officially. Sitting just past sunset here tonight at Daytona for the Cook Landscape Group Cup Series right here on Turn 1. And a bunch of drivers coming down pit road for fuel only. Again, that strategy starting to play effect here in the early laps here at Daytona.
Yeah, now the drivers hit the reset button. Some of them went in, and I don't believe they would take 4 tires. Their tire wear from that small little stint shouldn't have been anything to write home about, but what they did do is pack it full of fuel, and we saw several drivers fixing the car, and drivers now just catching up to the field, the 24, the 8, the 04, the 14, the 46, the 20, was also getting some damage fixed, I guess, because he's holed up. But Pedro Mojica in the 0-4 tonight, racing. He's like the super sub, Pedro. He's able to
Fills
find
in
the ride
everywhere. He is the Parker Klingerman this week.
Yeah.
Anthony Calatoni's going to be the control car down on the very bottom there in that 84 Talking Giants machine. And it's going to be Wesley Donaldson on the outside. I imagine here they've got the first one out of their system. Everybody knows what they've got. Now they need to ride a while. And, well, I don't suspect this is going to be the only caution we see tonight. I can't be surprised. I could be wrong. I'd love to be, but I think we are going to see some more action heat up on track here. Calatoni and Donaldson down to the restart zone, and the green flag back out here at Daytona.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the worst side of that was for Tyler Dalton, 2 laps down, still sitting on pit road, getting damage fixed. That car probably not going to be in contention tonight, as here comes Thomas George with some help from Nelson Rivera on the bottom, trying to hunt for the Valvoline car to go out front once again on the back straightaway. But don't count out Calatoni. He's got Wesley Donaldson hooked to the back bumper.
Those two back together once again here on that outside line. And again, I can't help but wonder what conversations happened prior to the race between those two. They have found each other and stayed hooked the entire time so far this evening. You know, and Kevin, one of the things that I didn't think we expected to see so early, Justin Fuller into the top 10. He's riding around in that 5th row on the outside there, and it's nice to see Fuller up here. Again, this super speedway racing is a great equalizer. Anybody in this race, in this field right now, could win this race here tonight. But Justin Fuller is looking to break that regular season tie with David Schildhouse.
Yeah, right now everybody kind of knows the tail, looking to see if they can hunt some positions. They love restarts, as it gives the opportunity to bunch everybody up and try and find somebody different after pit stops. It shakes up the order a little bit, and there's a 3 wide going on for about the 6th or 7th position right now. And if I'm sitting behind that, you ask, do you like to ride in the back? When you're in the back, you know where every car is. You can see that 3 wide up there, and I bet a couple of these drivers back here are kind of breathing the throttle. Is Josh Parker around? No caution here, as now we have a big crash here coming down into turn 1.
Well, we thought we were all said and done, but no, and that was Josh Parker. He got mixed up in that. Coming off a 4, was able to keep it going down on the bottom, and then we had another incident on track. This is Eric Arnold, Jason Karlovage, and Jason Pick involved. This looks like it started around Eric Arnold. Let's go back here and take a look. This may have been an aftermath of all that back and forth here. Nope. Kevin, this looks like this started right there where things were getting sporty. That's in front of Cody Harris. Man, that is a bad spot. We saw that 34 car driving pretty hard right through the middle of the field with that help of Cody Harris, and that's going to be another incident here early, bringing out the second caution.
It was reminiscent of the Bubba Wallace crash, where the 31 got tagged from behind and got turned sideways into the 2, and just, you know, I think for Cody Harris, he was looking to try and get down and didn't find the hole that he was looking for, and unfortunately everything bottled up. The number 1 got indoctrinated. Tyrone Harris hit the outside wall and was able to kind of push his way through it. So I don't know that he got a ton of damage, but that car looks like it's really dragging the right front. So I would imagine he's going to have to take it into the attention of his crew. The right front toe link looks like it's broken on the 1 car.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the 1 suffering with a little bit of nose damage there, and we all know how sensitive these cars are around the suspension parts and aero especially, and you got to have both to be successful here, and unfortunately it looks like he is going to have a little bit of trouble here. Calatoni out front, Donaldson, George, Rivera, Campbell, Harris, Ferrari, Comstock, Hollingsworth, and Lutz Jr. Your top 10 is... We get under caution here for the second time, lap 17. Want to take this quick moment to take a quick mention to Sim 500. Not only are ARCA races on Sunday nights, but this race on Mondays, and they race 4 nights a week. And if you're interested in joining a high caliber group of individuals running, really intense racing, and perfect examples of Sunday Night Surge last night was a wild race all the way down to the end. Well, head on over to sim500.com for more information and get signed up to come race with the legends right here on Turn 1. Calatoni in the lead. We're going to step aside one more time under the caution here at Daytona. You're watching Turn 1. Pace car leading this field around. Here they get ready to go back. Green flag racing in a lap or so. Meanwhile, back to talking about the 81 of Josh Parker. And Kevin, it sounds like he's continuing his run of really bad luck here tonight at Daytona.
Bad luck, but he's got the luck of the Blarney, given he's sponsored by Irish Spring. Maybe that was actually a good omen for him, as coming off of turn 4 after that restart, he got tagged trying to get down into a position. And I think that's a common theme. These drivers running through the middle trying to find a hole down in the bottom when everything's stacked up. He went off the bumper of the number 12, did a 360 and maybe a little bit more, but didn't hit anything. And then that incident with multiple cars happened right in front of him, but he wasn't a part of that because he was spinning down off the apron of turn 4. So what was bad luck could possibly have been a good one. He would have been right in the middle of that mix had he been a part of that. And we'll see whether good fortunes are going to smile on that number 81. Looking for Leprechaun to help him out here, that Irish Spring number 81, because he's below the cut line. And I don't know, Sean. I couldn't ever imagine that the 81 fighting for that 20th position to go into the point championship, given how fast this past champion is.
Josh Parker did fall 3 points or three positions in the standings after last week's race, and was looking to have a decent, consistent points night here. Doesn't need a win, just needs to finish, and a top 10 would go a long, long way for the driver sitting currently in that 27th position there on the outside. Anthony Calatoni, Wesley Donaldson get ready to go back. Green flag racing. And I can't help but wonder, Kevin, if everybody, I said it last time, did everybody take a breath here? We know it's not free to go anymore. As a driver, they've got to settle in a little bit here.
Yeah, I would think they've, especially those drivers that were in that first go-round, they had a lot of the damage fixed probably at this point and don't want to incur any more as we go back to green. I don't know. Hard to say, man. When you get to Daytona and you have the ability to just run wide open all the time, and you see a run forming and you have the opportunity, you're probably going to take it. So I don't know that we're done putting that yellow flag away.
I would agree, unfortunately. And before all the chaos broke out, we were talking about being a front runner or a back runner and all the benefits of staying up front. If you're leading, you're not wrecking. Well, most of the time anyhow. But a lot of these drivers want to get up front early because they feel the safest. And if you're not up front, you don't want to be in the middle here. We've seen some of the most intense racing action out of this group right there, 10th to 15th, 18th position, and it's been no different here tonight. But if you're wanting to ride in the back, you've got to ride in the back and manage the draft, because you don't want to lose it, but you don't want to be in the action either. So, for instance, Joe Hudson in the 49 car, he's sitting back 33rd right now. Paul Crumry is back there sitting 31st, and they're just kind of riding here. They give themselves enough space to be able to get on the binders when things get real ahead of them. So that is something to think about here in the uniqueness that is the super speedway racing at Daytona.
Yeah, and whenever you're out there in the back, you're at the mercy of the other cars around you. If you drop off the pack a little bit and there's a gap, you were hoping that the other drivers would get single file. You see those drivers out in the back, 2x2x2 out in the North 40 there. They want to be careful that they don't lose the draft. They're dropping off of the 53 of Jason Pick. I think they're still close enough, but should that gap widen a little bit, those drivers out in the back need to be a little bit careful. Now you could see they've got a run forming, they've got the draft coming, and everybody's coming together. But you do honestly look around often when you're out in this back 5, 6, 7 cars to wonder whether or not you're going to drop off the draft, because if this thing runs green for a long period of time, you'll find yourself 20 seconds back in a quick minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just as important there is partnering up with the right individual in the cars around you and ensuring that if you've got damage, finding somebody, maybe you're in a good position to be a great pusher, or vice versa, being pushed, but coordinating that with the drivers around you doing nearly 200 miles an hour here under the lights at a high banked racetrack at Daytona is never easy, as they all pretty much get bunched right back up. We saw Calatoni come out to a pretty decent one-car gap lead over Thomas George, and then all of that come out for naught. It really seems tonight, Kevin, that bottom line's good down into the corners, but then that outside line prevails, especially down the backstretch.
Yeah, what I find interesting in that long shot is that you see the cars kind of lined up in the front. They're running nose to tail in some of those shots, physically against each other. And out in the back, there's a car and a half distance. So out in the back, they're just kind of riding. These cars up in the front now stretching out a little bit, but a lap or two ago, they were all physically like nose to tail in that top 10, where there was a gap, everything from 12th on back. That top line right now forming up the first 10 cars, again, back to nose to tail here. This is where trouble occurs. One little bump in the wrong direction, you'll turn somebody sideways, and it's out in front of the field, and it collects everybody. You could just look at the spacing and see that the action's picking up again. Drivers are trying to make a little hay, and here comes the 95, last week's winner, underneath, and hoping that the 22 will get to his bumper and help him go to the front.
That's a big lag there. Cody Harris had a great run down on the bottom, but unfortunately, it looked like Nelson Rivera just wasn't quite had the same momentum, and you saw that kind of rubber band effect there. The 95 slowed down. Nelson came up with a big run. Now as you're getting that slingshot effect down the backstretch, and really runs are going to be important to talk about here tonight, because you can be sitting 5th, 6th, 7th on the last lap, but if you pick your moves just right, you can go from that position all the way to the point and then some with the right partner in 500-600 feet, and it could all come down to the last half of the racetrack here, the half section between the start finish line and turn 4 to determine tonight's winner. And a lot of these drivers using these early laps to gauge what kind of runs they could get or what kind of runs they could build. And you'll see some folks maybe try to stall some lines out. Maybe they need to do some blocking. How does that feel in this next-gen car with the tires and the aero? All things that these drivers are exploring here as they work lap number 26 at Daytona.
Yeah, in my sense is this is the time of the race where you start to see some drivers that you don't typically see up there, but super speedway is the great equalizer. You got DeAndre Kane running in the 12th position. Right behind him, one of the drivers who's spectacular here at these type of races, Jeff Hollingsworth, the 97, running in 11th. Going to keep an eye on him. Coger right there in the 5 in the Exalta number 5. behind DeAndre Kane, providing the fuel. And well, that makes it interesting as you see different players. You're not really sure how they're going to react. And I'll tell you a driver to keep their eye on is the 92 of Doy Woods. That car, the Haviland car at these type of racetracks, is somebody who could easily pull off a win at the super speedways of Daytona and Talladega.
Absolutely could. We've seen him have flashes of speed in a bunch of different cars over the years here on Turn 1, and certainly due for an opportunity to bring that car down the pit road. Another driver I want to call attention to here tonight is the 38 of Chad Coleman. Chad has really stepped it up in terms of pace here recently, and right now he's just riding outside of David Schildhouse there in 19th. He is also a driver who, in the right place at the right time, can often find himself in a place of advantage. And right now, Coleman, even though he's 10 spots off on the night, had a decent qualifying effort, riding around the 19th, and I suspect this won't be the last time we talk about the 38.
Yeah, and these three that you just mentioned are all veterans, and they're sitting back there, and you could see the gap out in front of them, a car length. This is what I was talking about earlier. If something happens up front, they can get on the binders, they can downshift real quickly, they could try and find a hole to get out of the crash that ensues in front of them, and they're leaving a lot of space, but they're not so far in the back of the field that they can't make a charge when it's time to go. The veterans are hunting right through the middle of this race.
Logan Koger went to the outside there, Kevin, and we talked about that being a factor. You've got to be able to go, and you got to have partners to do it. Koger was on that outside line and saw that nobody was going to go with him. Now starting to get a little sporty again here. That is the 21 moving to the outside and starting to fall back through the field.
Yeah, we're seeing drivers come and go. If you pull out a line and you don't have any help, you're going to go to the back. That 21 is actually the 12 car of Lutz, as paint scheme is a little off there. You see, I tell you, up there in front, Thomas George had a moment, just wiggled. We saw him go below the yellow line there for third, had to collect himself just a little bit. That opened the gap there for Jose Gonzalez. He's got good hands, and Jose right behind him, not going to run him over. But even, somewhere in every single lap, Sean, something happens. And these drivers sometimes are just holding on for dear life.
They really are. And now's about the time. Maybe the tires don't feel as great as they used to. This is the lightest fuel load they have felt all night. That's going to tend to cause the car to feel a little more free. And free is one thing. Free around 18 of your other buddies, nose to tail, can get really concerning for these drivers. As again, this is the longest fuel run they've had here so far. Calatoni up front, and they've got a 4-car gap now back to Cody Harris on an inside bottom line. Harrison Rivera is just kind of cruising right there. But one thing to know here, Kevin, Bobby Wetzel in that 9 car, he's up 21 spots. He was involved in one of the incidences earlier, and now he's up here flirting with the top 5.
Yeah, Bobby has no filter, man. His right foot is always planted. He wants to go forward. He loves these races, and to be in the channel and hear him talking during a race is so entertaining. As he is on kill every lap, and I'm not surprised to see him make his way up here. And what I see right now, or at least what I think I want to see, is that these drivers are riding, they're logging laps, working lap 32 of 80. They know there's a long way to go. They know there's a pit stop in their future somewhere along the line. They probably have found their dance partner, somebody that they want to ride behind, that they're comfortable with, that they've gotten used to riding in, and seeing how they're going down the straightaway, checking up at the end. They're probably saving fuel. Whoa, that was a huge hit there, and yeah, that's what's going to happen. The field gets collected on the back straightaway.
Parking lot off into turn number 3. Many drivers involved in this. David Schildhouse is backwards. Andrew Lutz, Jason Pick, Doug Roth, Kevin DeBrown in the grass. And Kevin, this looks like it could be a pretty big one here tonight.
Yeah, and I kind of saw that Foreman. I'm not sure what the story was with that. I saw Kevin DeBrown originally involved in that. I'm not sure if he got a bump draft that made him go sideways or Side drafting? Oh, yeah. The 9 came down, and the 93 was trying to take evasive action, came over and got into the 44. And then from then, they just banged and beat on each other until collecting a bunch of cards. And the 93 was like a pool ball getting banged left and right there.
Yeah, this looked like it may have happened right around the 20 of Shieldhouse. Oh no, it started there with the, like you said, there's a 93 there, and Mark Jorgensen Jr. also collected in this, and that's a lot of fast cars, and that is the downside right around in the back of the field, where anything you've got to have enough time to check up. We saw a lot of drivers take a ride through the grass, and they'd much prefer do that and risk getting out of shape than they would having to potentially run and dip, dodge, dive, dodge, all those words there through the corner trying to avoid the accident.
Yeah, watch the 20 drive away. He took a pretty solid wrap on the left front wheel by the 46 of Haight, and I wondered if he was going to have a broken toe link. But as I see him drive now, at least it looks like the car is straight and, well, feeding time at the zoo. Every single driver, whether they need damage or not, is going to go down. And I think this is the time on lap 33. If they haven't taken tires, they would take 4 tires and fuel.
Yep, now's the time to tighten up the car. That new Goodyear's going on and full fuel here. I take a look, and it looks like Calatoni may have only taken right sides. 8-second stop for that driver. Same with Donaldson, Wetzel, and DeAndre Kane. And then it looks like an 11-second stop for Jose Gonzalez. So a mix of pit strategies under the lights here at Daytona so far. Nelson Rivera has not come down pit road. He was down pit road on that lap 11 caution. But so far, him and Robert Finetti III in that 2 car elect to stay out. We're behind the pace car here for the 3rd time, lap 34. We're going to step aside. You're watching Turn 1. Nelson Rivera stays out here under this caution. Lap number 35, they get ready to take lap 36. And Kevin, you talked about track position being king, and him and the 2 are going to benefit those 2 forwards going to start on the front row.
Yeah, both of them playing pit strategy to get track position, and it has been a crazy race. Every incident that we've had thus far has been multiple cars involved, and it gives credence to what we talked about. If you could stay up front, you can typically be out in front of the mess, and that's been the case tonight as the Calantoni, Gonzalez, Wetzel, Rivera cars have been up there for the better part of the mark, and Wesley Donaldson threw him in that hat too. And unfortunately for some of the stronger cars that we typically see on a night, Mark Jorgensen Jr., the 20 of Schildhouse, the 38, had a piece of that as the pace car's off. It turns his field over to Rivera. It's been an eventful night for some of these drivers so far, and we're only on lap 35.
It certainly has been, as that outside lane just did not get going at all. And that is going to see Nelson Rivera suffer. The 95 is going to catch up with him, but he's going to lose a ton of time there. Meanwhile, Robert Vandy in the 2 has got Anthony Calatoni, Bobby Wetzel. They're strapped up right there on the bottom. And I'm surprised that, there it is. I was surprised to not see the 84 move up and block that run. Now that's going to strand the 2 on the bottom there, as we've seen so far here tonight, Kevin. Anthony Calatoni in that 84 car having a really, really strong run and showing he's got some speed here tonight.
Yeah, we remember Anthony pulled down a win at one point this season, and then it was disallowed. And I think there was a moment where he circled the calendar here for tonight and is not going to be denied. It's going to be very difficult for the Talking Giants driver to get this wrestled away from him, as he looks like a man on a mission at Daytona. That New Jersey driver really wants a win this season, and tonight could be the night. The car looks outstanding.
The 84 looking good out front. Bobby Wetzel also having a pretty strong night here in the 9. He got tangled up a little bit ago with this last caution, but overall leveraging pit strategy to come down and take partial service and found himself back up there racing in that second row behind the 84. Meanwhile, it's 2x2 back here. We were talking about, let's take a look. We were talking about Josh Parker and how that spin down there out of 4 about 10, 15 laps ago actually turned into something pretty positive for him, and he's running 20th right now. Kevin, that's one of the things that don't get talked about enough is, while yes, some of these cars have spent a significant amount of time down pit road getting repaired, ultimately they're not going to feel like they were exactly when they came off the truck here to start the night. So some of these drivers, they're out there racing a race of their own. Those 15th, 20th place drivers, most of them at this point likely have some level of damage. How much does that play into a point here with David Schildhouse towards the rear? We know he's got some damage.
Yeah, new feature in iRacing somewhere along the line came along to tell you when you went into the pit whether they were going to fix all the damage or not. And additionally, when that change came, a lot of drivers saw that they do fix the damage. And the draft is the great equalizer. So even if you're running with a little damage, as long as you're tucked in and you have somebody pushing you along with a couple of cautions, you can get your car fixed and you'll be competitive. And well, we'll see what is going to happen here, but we know that there's been extracurricular activity for quite a few of these cars, yet they're still competitive and right there in the mix, as the 2 of Friary Jr. has pushed his way out and is leading this event. The 22 got cycled back. He's still there in the top 10, and well, there's that Texaco star running in the 3rd position on the bottom line.
Yeah, another driver found his way up here. That's DeAndre Kane again. Another driver leveraging a little bit of a different pit strategy. Found himself running 2nd right now. We did just see Cody Harris. We saw him poke out to the outside line, either by design or just a poor handling car right now. He popped out there and let a couple cars go by. Cody Harris falls back to 10th. And yeah, really, everybody's kind of settled in here as we pass the halfway point of tonight's Cook's Landscape Group Cup Series, live right here on Turn 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Fitz, alongside my friend Kevin England here tonight at Daytona. It has been an exciting race so far. A bunch of different leaders, as you will see, traditionally at a super speedway race, and a lot of action under the lights. Kevin, I don't think we're done either.
No, we need to update you on a couple of the drivers. The fate for Tyler Dalton, he's going to score the last position here tonight, 43rd for the 19. He's checked out. The 1 of Tyrone Harris also checked out. Jason Pick is 4 laps down and out behind the field field races down the back straightaway is the 93 of Kevin DeBrown and the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. Both of those cars apparently suffering some pretty severe damage and off the pace, hoping for another caution and maybe a chance to get their damage fixed, but their nights are not going very well here at Daytona.
Now it looks like Stephen Miles, Mr. Consistency, as we talked to him almost every week, finding himself in the top 3. Well, he's a long way from it right now, sitting 38th, but that 24 car looks relatively clean. So that may be, he may be a factor before it's all said and done. And then the driver's tied for the points right now is Justin Fuller. He's sitting 19th, and he's got the driver that he's tied with right off the nose. It's David Schillhouse right there running 18th as well. That is a race for the regular season championship. And Kevin, I think we were talking about it, the top 20 will advance. So that's, again, reiterating how important it is for Josh Parker to run every lap here tonight. And he's sitting 26th.
Yeah, and of course we're off next week as it's Labor Day Monday, but then we head into the Labor Day tradition of Darlington the following week, and these drivers know that they need to get out of here tonight with a decent finish, at least be in touch with each other, because certainly you would expect Schildhouse and or Fuller to be top 5 cars contending for the win in those races, and the difference might be how far apart they finish tonight. I have to love looking at Schildhouse. To his outside, off his right shoulder, is the 43 of Doug Roth. And I have to say this week, the 43 car was just stunning at Daytona. And what a run. Did you see that final run for the 43? I think he restarted that last restart. What, in like 19th or 20th, he ended up top 5? What an amazing job.
Yeah, it was a great finish at Daytona under the lights on NBC, and well, I tell you what, we're hoping for the same result here. Another exciting run to the end, and you're right, that 43 Doug Roth machine looks pretty snazzy here as they roll off into turn 1. Also looking pretty snazzy, Kevin, is our new leader there for a minute. That was Jose Gonzalez. Found himself up 16 spots and on the point here.
Yeah, these drivers coming around right now to the 88, who's running the low line. I would anticipate that Mark Jorgensen Jr., they'll probably catch him somewhere about the trial to turn 1. He's going to have to pick a lane. Maybe he'll even drop to the apron, and he's going to do that as they come to the tri-oval and let the field streak by. For Jorgensen, ideally, he can find a hole somewhere in there and tuck up underneath the back of the pack, but that car obviously off the pace as Gonzalez leads them into turn 1. 31 degrees of banking, these drivers just flat foot when you're out front, wide open. And this is a factor that is an interesting thing to consider, Sean. Right now, when he has his foot to the floor, he's burning all the fuel. Some of these other drivers down the back, when they ride in the draft, they can run half throttle down the back straightaway and stay with it. Drivers do mind their fuel mileage on every lap here at Daytona.
Yeah, that will certainly be a factor here, and that's a great point, Kevin. You very well. Jose Gonzalez, he's got his foot to the floor. Same with Nelson Rivera down on the lead on that bottom line. Everybody else running varying degrees of throttle input, and it's all about just careful management of the momentum you have in the car. Calatoni right now is able to run at that half throttle pace, and you have a field who gets comfortable and real consistent with one another. You can run even slower than that in some of these instances, and that is significant fuel savings for a lot of these drivers. So when it comes down to a fuel race, you don't want to be on the front, and that's counterintuitive to pretty much any type of oval racing.
Yeah, I think the mindset tonight for that driver is probably that it's been so extracurricular tonight that he's probably not concerned about burning fuel and fuel mileage, as he's probably got his foot planted to the floor. If he really was concerned, he would roll out, maybe pull into second and trade with somebody else. But as we said earlier, don't think we're done putting the yellow flag away. As looking back here in the pack, I'm looking at a couple cars just kind of riding along. We haven't said their names tonight. 17th position for the Harley Davidson, number 25 of Ron Hollifield, having a good run tonight. To his outside, the 75 Or, yeah, it is the 75, yes. Stoney Benfield, he's running in 18th, and Stoney had a really eventful night last week, and good to see him giving this car a good run here tonight at Daytona.
Yeah, not a bad run here. And again, you've got to be there at the end. You got to be there on the last lap to have a decent finish. And these drivers just putting in some time here. Meanwhile, Jose Gonzalez in this lead pack is about to catch another lap car. And I don't think they're going to be as lucky, at least not initially. Who is that? That is Kevin DeBrown. They're going to catch up with him very quickly here. And right outside of that turn, too, he's going to lean up against the wall. That's a safe space to be. And now everybody on that outside groove is going to have to make do, work around DeBrown as they work off into turn 3. Gonzalez leads the point. One thing to note here is this 5-car breakaway on that outside line. That is what happens when you have a little bit of traffic to contend with. It breaks up the draft, but more importantly, it breaks up the draft and breaks up the runs around you. So what turned into just kind of on cruise control now, you've got to reset, get everybody bunched back up, everybody spread back out. And every time you break the rhythm or break the pattern here at Daytona, it increases the risk for calamity at a high level here as Nelson Rivera leads on the bottom.
Yeah, we talked about the fate of the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. He crosses the start-finish line now as the leader streaks into turn number 3. That car is not even fast enough to stay on the pace. He's probably bored out of his skull just running laps by himself. But the 93 of Kevin DeBrown running in the 38th position, he was able to tuck in somewhere about mid-pack. So his car is capable of running with the group. Ideally, he would look for a lucky dog and see if he can put himself back into contention and maybe spend some time getting that car fixed. One car I want to call attention to, maybe you can get a shot of it, Sean, is the 60 car of Jason Karlovaj. Look at the back of the car. The car is absolutely hammered. We talked about the front right nose is bent in and crinkled, the back of the car all wrinkled up, the spoiler up in the air, the rear right side sticking out into the wind, and that car sporting some severe damage, but yet in the draft he's able to kind of hold his own. And I'd imagine he's not the only one with damage, but certainly those drivers would be looking for a caution to get some additional time with the mallet to try and straighten out some of the fenders and the bumpers on those cars.
Another driver I'm surprised has got as much pace as he does is the 04 Pedro Mojica. The front of that car is really tore up. That's Mark Jorgensen levels of tore up there for Mojica. And right now, he's kind of maintaining. This is the benefits of the draft. He's probably running a little harder than some of these other drivers in terms of throttle input, but so far hanging out there in that 22nd position.
I just saw the 8 come off of the racetrack, and it looks like problems also for Randy Yoakum. And he will not be somebody that's going to be in contention tonight as we're starting to tick down the laps. We're working lap number 51 with 30 to go. And there comes a point when you expect, Sean, the action to pick up. And I think somewhere about 25, 20 to go, it is going to be go time. These drivers will get on kill. Those gaps that we talked about, you're going to see them close up. You'll see drivers switching lanes, pushing that third lane agenda. And one car I see kind of moving around right now is the 51 of Justin Fuller. I see him just kind of weaving back and forth, working his way forward. And here comes the 30 behind him as some of these drivers who are super speedway savvy are starting to make moves in the back of the pack.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kevin, I don't know about you. I'm not 100% certain on fuel, but do these drivers have to stop one more time before it's all said and done? I know the drivers like the 2, he's going to have to come down pit road last time down on lap 11. And also, I think we had one other, maybe. Nope, I don't see him in running anymore. So, or at least they've come down pit road. Oh, no, it was Nelson Rivera. So this is the 22. They were gambling on another caution before the end of this thing. Do they have enough fuel to make it all the way to the end?
Yeah, I think those 2 drivers might be a little bit nervous, but I believe they're going to find their opportunity at some point. And here they come to the 88 one more time. They're going to drive past the stricken Mark Jorgensen Jr., who is down there on the apron, lets the field roll by. And really, you might ask yourself, why would Mark stay out there? if there is a big crash somewhere along the line and a bunch of cars get retired, those are positions from points that he could gain. So he does stand to gain something from it, but this time he pulled into pit road, and I have to wonder if he figures the car is so far off the pace there, Sean, that it would be better if he just took his lumps and fixed the car so it would have speed and be able to be competitive in the draft.
Yeah, there's a time and place during the races. We see really this top 5, top 8 really start to scatter out all of a sudden. But a time in a race where that delta just gets to the point where diminishing return, and ultimately would he be better served to come down pit road and also get to a point where if he's too many laps down, just coming down, he's going to only gain so many spots. So that's something we continue to follow, is that 2-lane traffic up front has turned into basically a lane, or about a 6-car group. Logan Koger has made his way up here. He's actually leading the charge on that bottom line. He's got DeAndre Kane picked up. And I wonder, Kevin, if this is a result of some fuel mileage, everybody slowing down just a little bit and starting to find some gaps in the field.
Yeah, what we saw there for a lap or two was the outside lane was the place to be, and drivers really making a huge run. Look at David Schildhouse come through the middle there. He's in the sucker hole, and now what he needs to do is find a hole and see if he could slot in somewhere. He's going to be able to do that right in front, but we're seeing these massive runs from the back of the field. I saw the 91 of Wesley Donaldson run up in there, and we're starting to see some of these drivers try to make their moves. We talked about it being go time, and I'm not surprised to see if you could take the advantage, you're going to try and drive your way forward. And what a move by Schildhouse to get up there in the top 10.
And, these drivers we talked about earlier in the race, how they spent, there's another move by Josh Parker coming up the middle. But these drivers getting a feel for what they need to do or what they can do with their cars. That's, pre and post incidents, as Andrew Lutz Jr. is going to take the lead there on the bottom. And then some of these drivers starting to exercise those learnings. And one of those could be David Schildhouse, again, riding around there in the top 10 after being involved in at least one of the incidents here tonight. Now, Kevin, one of the drivers we were talking about just a little while ago, Nelson Rivera, he's last down pit road, lap 11. Well, guess what? He has fallen all the way back to 13th. He's found himself whole on the bottom line there, but I suspect this is him trying to find a little bit of fuel mileage here deep in the track.
Yeah, certainly if it's a concern, he's going to want to tuck in about the 5th or 6th position so he can ease out of that throttle coming down there. And you might even find these drivers clutching the car. They get to the end of the straightaway with such a run that they can throw the clutch down and coast up to the car in front of them. They really have to be careful that the car behind them is not running on their back bumper. And I'm looking at 2 cars we've not mentioned tonight, just kind of back there in the hunt, quietly running. The 13 of David Comstock's back there running with Joey Jatina. Joey in the 22nd position right now. And, as much as I said earlier, it was difficult to pass. This is the time of race where if some of those drivers who were riding out in the back wanted to flex a little bit of muscle, I would expect them to start making a couple moves. Right now, Comstock and some of the others sitting there with him, Charles Woods, Ron Hollifield, Bentley Glazer, we've not mentioned him tonight. They're all kind of riding, and I'm wondering if they're hanging back here, wondering if the big one's going to take out the front of the field so that they can get the track position that way.
Speaking of, we're going to have several drivers come down pit road. They all broke away. That includes Nelson Rivera. They all get checked up, but that was a close one. The 2 is also going to come down pit road. Eric Arnold, Gerald Livingston, Stoney Benfield, and Kevin Stone all hit pit road. I think that's that tells me that a lot of these drivers don't feel like they've got enough fuel to make it all the way to the end here with 22 to go. And, Kevin, one of the things that we haven't talked about, we haven't had a chance to, is here at Daytona, in green flag conditions especially, you've got to have some friends to go down pit road, because if you don't, you're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, and the 2 and the 22 in this Sim 500 league have been ones that have worked together, no matter who's driving the cars, and the 2 of them dropped off and they're working. And that had to be communicated through the field with a bunch of different drivers saying, we're going to pit at this point. Unfortunately for Nelson Rivera, the pit stop did not go well as he is way off the back of the bunch of cars that pitted. That's so frustrating when you don't hit it right. You got the 75 tucked in back there with a couple other cars that pitted, the 31 of Eric Arnold and Kevin Stone. But for the 22, he is way off the pace. The 2 and the 22 at least are together, but they've got the field bearing down on him. In a handful of laps, you would think they're going to come together.
Yeah, not what the 12 wanted to see in that pit cycle. I don't see anything in terms of timing. He had a very similar situation on pit road, but maybe about speed on entry. Either way, Jose Gonzalez, Andrew Lutz Jr., Joey Tatina, Comstock, Carl Lavage, Thomas George, Pedro Mojica all come down. Josh Parker's going to join them. And another round of pit stops as they come back by. That's going to be DeAndre Kane picking up the lead here on the bottom off the bumper of... he's got Logan Koger with him. David Shieldhouse right there. Justin Fuller also in the mix. Now, for some of these drivers that rode around in the back, do they have enough to make it all the way? I'm going to say most likely not, just based on what we've seen, but maybe Shieldhouse and Fuller know something we don't. As they come back down here, down out of turn 4, we're going to see another driver come down pit road, and we were just talking about why that is a bad idea. Brian Macklin all by himself here coming down pit road in the 30, and not a good move there for that driver, Kevin. That's going to be a disaster for Brian Macklin.
Yeah, it's time to break out all by myself by Eric Carmen. He is all by himself, and that's not the way you want to be. But I have to just take a moment and bask in DeAndre Kane leading this race. We see him occasionally. He's in and out of the field, but that's got to feel really cool to see that 90 up front. And how about the 44? They could use some good news this season, as it just hasn't been a Glenn Campbell consistent finish. He's found a lot of trouble. I believe he's got a teammate in Anthony Calantoni behind him, and that 95 is ever present up there. And, well, who's going to work with the 20 of Shieldhouse? That's an interesting question. And look who's on the back bumper of him.
Yeah, it looks like, who was that? Wesley Donaldson right there in the 41?
That's the 41, typically driven by E.J. O'Rourke, but it's Sean Brightsman tonight in the 41 running the substitute. And that 41 units, Toyota and the 20, look like they're working together. And they've got the 38 hanging on their back bumpers. This is just fascinating to watch the bedfellows that have come together here to try and win this race tonight at Daytona.
DeAndre Kane working both lanes as they come out of 4. This bottom line starting to grow a little bit. That's often a sign of these drivers trying to get to the bottom so they can come down pit road with minimal drama. They want to have the opportunity to do so. I imagine some of these drivers towards the rear of this pack waiting for the word, waiting for others to say, hey, we're coming down this time. We're just seeing it out the windshield and being ready for that, potentially that last pit stop here with 17 to go. DeAndre Kane, again, was controlling both lines, but now Glenn Campbell starting to break out. He's got the 84 Talking Giants Calatoni machine with him. Justin Fuller's up there. Logan Koger is also in the mix. Chad Coleman recovered from having a good bit of damage. He's up there in the top 10. Meanwhile, this whole pack is going to run down a group of about 5 cars here in just a moment, and that is it has a chance to be a little sporty here in the closing laps, Kevin.
Yeah, we watched these guys up front. They were running side by side, which was an advantage to the cars they're running down, which are running nose to tail, trying to drive away from these drivers. But I'm not sure. We still don't know the call of the whether these drivers back here have been saved enough fuel to go to the finish. In one respect, if they keep going, they're going to spend less time showing on pit road. When they do duck off for fuel, they can pretty much get a splash and go, which could net out to a great advantage for them. But right now, they don't seem to be gaining on those 4 cars in front of them, because the 4 cars at the tail end of the field are somewhat organized and running nose to tail, where these guys running side by side, they're not able to make the speed of 4 cars running in line.
All of a sudden, the 95 of Cody Harris on the point here off of Glenn Campbell's nose. That's the first time we see the 95 actually on the point here this evening. He is up 23 spots. That basically just put down a a minimal qualifying effort as they continue to run down that pack, or at least close in just a little bit. And by the way, that pack out front of these leaders is being led by Nelson Rivera. This is due to that, what I imagine he's going to classify as a disastrous pit stop and a trip down pit road here just a few laps ago. And he is potentially going to see himself go a lap down before it's all said and done. Speaking of said and done, that outside line looks like it's starting to come apart a little bit. Only 4 cars up there and 14 to go. Kevin, I'm a little shocked. As you mentioned, it's interesting how this is playing out so far. I can't imagine fuel mileage and a little bit of conservation for some of these drivers has to be what's brought us here today tonight with these top, we'll call it 15 cars running the way they are up front here.
Yeah, right now nobody shows any sign of slowing down. What's interesting is whether or not these cars out the back of this stack can have a little something to say about this. They're all kind of spaced out quite a bit off the back end. It's not like anybody can get organized and make a run to the high side. I'm looking back there at like Stephen Miles, who's following the 97 of Hollingsworth. They've got a big gap in front of them to 3 cars, and then there's a gap, and there's 2 cars, and then there's a gap. It's not like they're all running nose to tail and are going to mount a charge. So it feels like the energy is in this top 10 if we continue to go with 13 to go here at Daytona. And they are slightly closing down on this front 4 in front of them. I have to wonder if that too will pay into the finish of this race, Sean. Holy cow, this is like any other Daytona. It's just crazy strategy chess match.
It certainly is. And one of the things to think about as well, the 95, I believe he's has about 6 wins on the season. He's not made a ton of friends either. We've seen him have some pretty interesting moments on track. And again, we've talked about it throughout the entire broadcast. You've got to have partners in this. You've got to have people that are willing to partner up with you and maybe sacrifice their run for yours. And if you've maybe been in a couple incidents, or as Kevin likes to call them, the extracurriculars, well, they're not so likely to push you when it matters most. And that is something Cody Harris is probably on his mind as he sees this group of 4 cars just in front of him here as they work to run them down with less than, they're going to come back around for 11 to go here at Daytona. And the rest of this pack, by the way, it's not quite go time just yet, but it is nearing. It takes 1 or 2 cars to start making some moves and driving forward, and that's going to spark a gold rush. And I imagine we'll see that anywhere between, we'll call it 10 and 5 to go, and we'll see business pick up here in the top 5.
Yeah, you have to wonder if Cody Harris out in the lead is picking up a little bit of a draft from those 4 cars out in front of him as they're starting to close down. And the other interesting thing is what's going to happen when they get to them. Will they go to the high side? Will that group move up? If I'm them, I don't want to get lapped. I'm going to stay right in the racing group and force the field to go around it. We're about to find out as they're bearing down. And will this cause a melee? And I think it's interesting that the 22 and the 2 got in front of the 2 cars behind them, and look at the gap that DeAndre and the 95 of Cody Harris have been able to gain. They're going to be able to drive around drivers and carry the speed around them, and the rest of the field hasn't even gotten to them yet. So I wonder if they'll stall a little bit here, as it doesn't look like they're able to carry the speed. Here comes the 5 of Logan Koger with a push from David Schildhouse. This is going to get really fascinating off the back of the backstretch.
Yeah, the 22 played this perfectly. He did not. He stayed. He held his lane there on the bottom. Required Harris to take DeAndre Kane to the high side. We saw those 2 break away. That was due to the draft. Meanwhile, the 22 now that he's got some help with the 2 and he's got a little bit of a side draft here, all of a sudden he's up here battling in amongst the leaders while trying to stay on the lead lap here as they close in, come across the stripe. 9 to go. And yeah, now business is going to pick up especially with these lap cars in the mix here. We saw David Schildhouse. He got stuck in the middle there just a moment ago. That was the 42 and the 5. He was having to work around as Koger nearly gets into the wall coming out of 2, able to avoid it. But yeah, this is going to shake some things up. So the right now you're seeing the 22 there of Nelson Rivera lead that bottom line, but really that's just him trying to stay on the lead lap, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think Schildhouse saw the opportunity. Coger slipped up a little bit. Schildhouse made the decisive move to the left, but here comes Brightsman to the bottom. That bottom line got a huge run. Brightsman's going to go to the lead down there at the bottom by picking up the lap cars, and the 41 goes to the front by a move to the bottom, and he was able to circle by as trouble for those cars out behind him, and now we have a new leader with just a handful of laps. Sean Brightsman to the lead.
Yeah, Cody Harris, DeAndre Cade, they hit the ejection seat. They lost all the momentum, and now Logan Coger's going to try to pick up that outside line, but they are down on speed. Meanwhile, the 41 there, Brightsman, he's sitting the fourth car in line here. He's benefiting from all the speed that the 22 is generating in the draft. He's got the 46 and the 2 also in line here, and really, this is interesting to see because now Paul Crumry, we see a car duck off pit road. Paul Crumry is sitting in P2 right now. That's also a new dynamic here. The 29 up to the top 2 for the first time. And then David Schildhouse. He's been involved in an incident or 2 here tonight, and he's sitting third and sitting pretty comfortably. Meanwhile, on the outside, Cody Harris has been picked up by Logan Coger. Only 4 cars on that outside line as they work the backstretch to middle of here lap with 7 to go.
Coger on the high side is getting a push by the 95 of Cody Harris trying to make that high side lane, and here comes some help from none other than the 93 of Kevin DeBrown. We know he's not in, but will he have a play in it? And they went around the 38, which is a teammate. And how about Andrew Lutz running in the 9th position? He wants to put his name in there. The number 80 starting to make a little noise as drivers are coming out of the woodwork here, as you would expect, with 5 to go at the line this time. The 95 drops down low, loses Logan, and he's going to tuck in there. That's going to drop the 5 back in. Don't look now, but right behind this stack is the 51. I think Fuller wants to put his name on the check tonight.
Yeah, Justin Fuller has ridden around really deep in the 30s most of the night. Now working his way up to 7th. He's up 26 spots so far here as they come to the stripe to take 6 to go, and the action's heating up. And all of this because the 22 of Nelson Rivera came down pit road, had a bad stop, and all of a sudden he's finding himself up here fighting with the leaders to just stay on a lead lap, and so far benefit the number 41.
One thing we neglected to mention so far is tonight is a Cook's Super Bonus race. The winner of this race is going to win a $50 prize, so there's more on the line than just bragging rights. And when I say write their name on the check, I mean literally someone's going to get a $50 prize for winning this race. And right now, things are going the way of Sean Brightsman, but I don't know, I start to see some action on this high side. All it takes is somebody to jump out of line, and we're going to have a 2x2 is there they go to pit road. The 95 and the 20 could not make it, and they're going in for their final pit stop.
What a development here. Anthony Calatoni's going to come down. Doug Roth, Logan Coger, DeAndre Cade's on pit road. I did not expect to see that. So now becomes the question of how much fuel did the 41 save? And do they have enough? We talked about just a lap ago, Justin Fuller. He rode around the back of the pack here most of the night. He actually came down pit road a lap later than the rest of the field. Does the 51 have enough to make it the rest of the evening or the rest of the laps here in regulation? Also, don't look too far back. The 38 also came down pit road on 34, and he's sitting in that 5th place spot as we work here. We're coming into the stripe. 3 to go at Daytona for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series.
Last night I ran NIS, and I ran right in the middle of the pack, and I clutched every lap right from the beginning, and I ran 7 laps further than the entire field. Knowing that that was a possibility, I would imagine some of these drivers have been exercising their right to save fuel in a grandiose way. There was a time when you could turn the ignition off on the car, and they've stopped that. You have to be going under 70 miles an hour, but clutching the car is completely possible. And I would think a veteran like Chad Coleman sitting in there in 5th would know that play And I have to wonder, as soon as I say that, who peels off, but the 38 of Chad Coleman goes to pit road.
We're running out of cars here in the top 5. That's right here in this group, but it's 2 to go. And if you're the driver of the 41, you've got what you've got. The same with the 29 of Paul Cumry. Wesley Donaldson has suddenly found himself back where he started in 3rd, but Justin Fuller, he's the only car on that outside line. This top, these 10 cars here or so up front, well, only half of them are racing for the win here tonight, and this is getting sporty as they work the backstretch. And they're going to come to the stripe and take the white flag here for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series.
Totally impressed by the 51 of Justin Fuller out there by himself, able to pull a nose ahead, and he's now going to get some help as Crumry peels off. And it is going to be Fuller and the 91 of Wesley Donaldson giving chase. This is going to be an exciting last lap.
The white flag is out one more time around here under the lines at Daytona, and Justin Fuller breaks out. He's got Wesley Donaldson right there with him. And guess what? There's going to be nobody really around to stall him out. Justin Fuller, has he played this right? Coming down the backstretch one final time, finds himself in the lead here. Nobody out back, no pressure. We've seen him ride around all night long. He's going to duck in here behind the 2. He's going to leave Donaldson. That may be a move to save a little bit of fuel here. Not 100% sure he's going to pop back out. Justin Fuller, he's going to maintain the draft, play the strategy perfectly, and he's going to win here tonight at Daytona.
What a race. What a way to play that for Justin Fuller. Just an incredible job at saving fuel, and really a veteran move to get himself the win, and an outstanding run for Wesley Donaldson and several others. If I'm not mistaken, the 36 of Bentley Glazier snuck in there and got himself a podium finish tonight.
He did. He finished 3rd. Stephen Miles, Mr. Consistency, found himself in another top 5 situation. He's going to finish 4th. Joe Hudson and the 49 had a great night, finishing 5th. Ron Holyfield, Jeff Hollingsworth, Bobby Wetzel, Doy Woods, and Sean Bretzman are going to finish in the top 10. I believe, did Sean run out of fuel there? He may have. Either way, Justin Fuller, your winner here tonight at Daytona, pulling off another one in the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series. We're going to step aside and come back to you with some post-race coverage. You're watching Turn 1. Justin Fuller running out of fuel there as he came back around to do the burnout, but meanwhile, we'll talk the driver who ran into a little bit of luck and it played all out for him, the driver of the 36, Bentley Glazer. Bentley, congratulations on a top 3 here tonight at Daytona. That looked like that was an interesting race from front to back. Give us your perspective. How did it go for you?
Went well. Pitted extra time at the end to get some more fuel, and I barely made it. Ran out of gas at the line.
I think a couple drivers joined you in that. We saw tonight how important it was and how difficult it was to make passes, and important to have the track position from a driver perspective. Was that playing out in your head, trying to find yourself in the right place at the right time? Walk us through trying to work your way and keep a car relatively clean to be here at the very end.
Yeah, a lot of luck. I had some good wreck avoidance, and then got some damage on the last caution, I think, and I fixed it up and just rode where I could. I didn't think that many people were going to pit, but I'm surprised I got third.
Well, pulling it off nonetheless, up 21 spots on the qualifying effort. Bentley Glazer is going to finish P3 here tonight at Daytona. Bentley, appreciate the time, and again, congratulations on the finish.
Thank you very much.
Kevin, I'll hand it over to you. I think you're going to be able to talk to Wesley Donaldson here.
Yeah, Wesley Donaldson so close at the end, runs out of fuel and coasts across the line. At least that's what I'm assuming happened, Wesley. But how about that last lap? You were pushing Justin Fuller, and then he ducked in underneath. And am I right? You ran out of fuel?
No, I was good. I had about a half a lap of fuel still. It's just the second he dropped in line there, and then that lap car was like right on my side. Like I was done for. Like it was just pulling me back.
Yeah, we saw you go there, and I just assumed that we saw almost like a parachute. But in the end, I don't know. A solid night of racing. You were up in the top 5. It looks like you kept yourself out of trouble. Any incidents for you tonight?
No, nothing eventful really tonight, which is surprising because of this season, my inconsistent finishes have been the ones at these plate tracks. So it was nice to finally get a decent finish at one of these, and it's hard to be too upset about a second place, but man, I wanted that win really bad.
Yeah, I'm sure. You worked really well with Anthony tonight. It looked like the two of you have a plan to kind of try and stay up front.
Yeah, we qualified up front there together, and I feel like I do a really good job pushing, so once he got in front of me there, it was really easy to maintain once you're on the top. Just here at Daytona, it was side drafting the inside line, just the way this draft model is. It's easy to kind of control up front. At some point, I think it was before that last restart or whatever, I lost a little bit of ground there and we got separated, but it kind of ended up working out because it put me a little bit further back and allowed me to actually save some fuel, whereas I know I wouldn't have been able to if I was up front behind him still.
Yeah, talk a little bit about how the car drove tonight at Daytona under the lights. It looked like it was not as easy as it looked. Cars were moving all over the place. Top line dominant, bottom line dominant. What was your impression as you ran through the race?
Top was definitely dominant if you knew what you were doing as far as pushing and could control the lanes. As far as handling, it wasn't like horrible. It felt like you could lock on a little bit easier than what you have kind of in recent history. But still, it's just, these things are just a little darty by nature. Sometimes I felt like they were getting a little tight. I don't think it was bottoming out, although it kind of looked that way the way the sparks were going, but I don't think it handled too bad. Wish I would have been able to put 4 tires on it at some point, but ultimately didn't matter too much when it came to the end because we weren't doing too much actual racing. It was mostly just saving fuel.
Yeah, I mean, a second place finish after tonight. I know you didn't get to see what was going on in the back. When you watch this back, you'll see how it was a rather interesting race as to about 10th to 15th all night tonight, and several big incidents, so you'll count your blessings. Second place heading into the championship later in a couple weeks. How do you feel about the rest of your season?
I feel really good. I mean, it's like I said, last week, been super consistent all season long. So as long as that can keep up, and hopefully, I feel like at a lot of these places, I'm right there. I don't know if I quite have winning speed most weeks, but I'm like right on the edge of it. So think if we can just find a little bit more speed, might see a win or two come my way and keep the consistency up, and should be in a good spot by the time the end of the season comes.
Always at the front of the pack, and tonight it's a second place finish for the WBD Diecast number 91. Congratulations on your finish, Wesley, and you get a week off next week, so take a moment, thank everybody you want to say hello to, and we'll see you when we return next time at Darlington.
Yeah, just thanks to everybody who helps put this on, all the other admins, Joey, everybody that puts in work behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that goes on that people don't see just to keep this thing up and running. Thanks to you guys for doing the broadcasts every week. I love going back and watching them. Thanks to Cook's Landscaping Group for sponsoring the series and helping us do what we do, and all the other league sponsors. And then shout out to WBD Diecast, which is my my own business. We make custom diecasts for Cup, Truck, Xfinity, ARCA, you name it. iRacing paint schemes, you can do it all.
There you go, Wesley Donaldson, your second place finisher tonight. We're going to turn it over to Sean, who's caught up with your winner, Justin Fuller.
Justin, congratulations on an incredible run here at Daytona. You played that, I would say, perfectly. Run us through, before we talk about that last splash of gas, talking to us about the night for you. Looks like you were choosing to run towards the rear of the field. Was that by design, or what was your thought coming into tonight here at Daytona?
Not really. Usually by design, I run at the back of the main pack and just kind of chill till pit stops, and we kind of get thinned out at that point, and then we can go racing. We never got to that point, though. I botched my Q lap. I started a little farther back than I wanted to. I don't like starting top 5, but I don't like starting like outside the top 20 either. Just kind of like a little comfort zone right there for not missing my pit box on pit entry and not being too far forward, so you're disadvantaged getting off a pit road. And we just kind of rode around, kind of got put in a couple bad spots there. Every wreck was right in front of me. That was kind of annoying, but we were able to avoid them all. I did clip David that one time. I'm really glad that he didn't get any more damage than he did. It sounded like over the communication, we each actually got the same amount of damage in that wreck. We each got about 18 seconds. So we were able to rebound from that and not have to worry about that at all. I would have hated that, especially because we're in a fierce battle right now. So, but no, overall, I knew it was going to be really close on the number on fuel. So on that last caution, I was like, well, I'm already back here, so I'm going to bring it back down and top it off. And quite frankly, I think that was the difference. So, but as the field started thinning out and everybody pitted, my fuel mileage started getting worse and worse. And I was a little bit worried that I was going to time it wrong. But I ended up timing it right.
Timing it right, indeed you did, and it looked like you ran out there just past the start-finish line, or at least down the backstretch. What was your line of thinking with 10 to go, or let's call it even 5 to go, and you saw that front group start to peel off, things getting a little sporty? We really saw you kind of duck in there and, I would say, lose Wesley Donaldson on that last lap. Was that a hopefully to build enough momentum to make it in case you ran out, or what was the thought there? Or was that just a break the draft type thought coming to the end here?
At the end, there was a lap car to his inside, and there was nobody behind him. So I knew if I just ducked to the bottom, he would lose all the air, and it'd be a parachute for him, and he wouldn't even have a chance. So that really sucks for him. I hate that that's the way it came down to. But in my mind, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, well, there's a car to his inside. I'm clear. There's nobody behind him. This is going to win me the race right here, providing I don't sputter at all coming off turn 4. So I just used the lap cars as a pick. This draft model was so bad. The racing wasn't terrible, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's really annoying. And if rules were reversed, I would definitely not be a happy camper. I know Wesley's not too thrilled about it, so but it's just kind of the way you got to play these things, unfortunately.
It is, and Justin, I'm firm in saying this is going to put you in the lead here for the regular season championship as we come down the run here. Talk to us about this Labor Day break and getting yourself recollected and heading off into Darlington with a new perspective, a win behind you here, and building a little bit of momentum as we work to close out the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're focused on right now, winning this regular season championship. Darlington's not an easy track. One slip up and you're in the inside wall, you're in the outside wall, you're breaking a toe link. So it's going to take a lot of finesse. And I have a little bit of a buffer on points now, I think, on David. So I don't need to win. I just need to keep him in my sights and let the points fall as they do. Darlington I love that racetrack. I think it's a great racetrack for me. I don't like this car. I say it all the time. Obviously, it's come to me through this new build, which is great. You know, I'm at least running better. I'm having a little bit more fun, as annoying as it can be. So we'll see what happens next, or in 2 weeks. I don't really get a week off next week, unfortunately. I'm not racing next weekend, but man, I got fantasy football drafts lined up all weekend, so I'm going to be busy. It's no rest for the wicked next week. So, but yeah, in 2 weeks, Darlington, great track. Auto Club is an even greater track for me. So I'm looking forward to more Auto Club than I am Darlington for position wise, anyway. So we'll see. We just got to keep it clean, keep all the tires pointing in the right direction, and be there at the end. And I felt like we had a great shot last week too. Kind of got boned out of that one. So, but it's all good. You know, we're made it work tonight.
Justin, well, listen, congratulations. Hopefully this checkered flag here in the oval racing turns into at least a decent running back in your draft next week. We appreciate the time, and we'll be talking to you again here real soon.
Thanks, Sean. Have a good one.
Justin Fuller, your winner here tonight at Daytona under the lights. And man, what a wild one here, Kevin. This was a lot of fun to watch this all play out throughout the night. Oh, Kevin, I think you're muted there, buddy, if you're still with us.
Yeah, the two things we kept our eye on tonight was the outstanding race and the heavyweight boxing match for this regular season championship, and Fuller came away with it with the win. Now Schildhouse is going to have to roll up his sleeves in the final 2 weeks. Who would have thought it in the beginning of the season? We saw the runaway from Schildhouse. We wondered if anybody could catch him. Now we sit here in August, and certainly Fuller has turned up the heat and has jumped out ahead, and it's going to be a fun run all the way to see who's going to claim it. And of course, Justin Fuller, $50 richer, thanks to Cook's Landscape for the bonus for tonight's Daytona race. And what a race it was. I loved it, Sean. I thought we saw a little bit of everything here tonight. Super Speedway racing at Daytona is live and amazing, and it translates really well here in the sim. And how about it? A few mileage race with cars dropping off at the end. We had absolutely no idea with 5 to go who was actually going to win this thing.
We didn't, and you're right. We saw a little bit of everything. We saw fuel mileage. We saw cautions. We saw long green flag runs, and we saw momentum and Justin Fuller ultimately figuring this car out and figuring out the mileage and being there at the very end, bringing home the checkered flag here tonight at Daytona. With that, we're heading off to the Labor Day holiday break with the Sim 500 group. We will pick it up with OSR on Thursday night and then call it a wrap here on Turn 1 for the week. So, Kevin, I appreciate you being here, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yep, thanks for having me. Everybody have a safe Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you back when we return for Darlington. On
behalf of the league admins, I'm Sean Fitz. That's Kevin England. We'll see you next time for more racing action right here on Turn 1. Good night, everybody.